This is the Expanding Boundaries podcast.
Do you feel trapped? Stuck in a world of mediocrity, constrained by bad habits, limiting beliefs, and feeling unfulfilled? Do you feel that deep down you know you were destined for much more? In Expanding Boundaries, you'll discover how you can break free and step into your real life, a life without limits. And now, here's your host, Michael McLeish.
Hello again. Welcome back to the Expanding Boundaries podcast. Really excited to have you here today. We've got an awesome guest, Mr. Michael Burns. He's going to be joining us, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on him, and then we're going to have a wonderful conversation. So, Michael, he began investing in 2011, and he now has his lifestyle brand, and he's involved in flips and rentals and hard money lending, real estate broker. He's a real estate broker now, a mortgage broker, and investing in businesses. He's an advocate of self-development, family, relationships, and building an ideal lifestyle. Michael, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thanks, bro. Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, it's an honor. We're going to have a good time here today. And I want to dive into getting to know you a little bit more, but I'm not going to go to the obvious places. Where are you located right now in the world?
I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake. All right. Have you been there your whole life?
No, I've moved out here. I grew up in California, spent about 4 years in Oregon, and then I moved to Utah in 2009.
Okay. Gotcha. So what's one place in the world that you have to visit at some point in your lifetime?
I really want to see the Northern Lights, so I'm not sure where the destination will be, but that's on the top of my list. And then I'd love to see kind of the whole Mediterranean area. I travel a lot, but I usually in the Caribbean, Hawaii, stuff like that. So I'd like to get out there.
Yeah. All right. Any specific place?
Probably, Italy, Greece, Spain, just that whole Mediterranean area. Probably start out with a cruise and get a feel for everything, and then probably head back on like an actual land trip, get a feel for what I like and don't like.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So what do you think of the top 3 bucket list items that you would have to do while you're there?
I don't know, dude. We'll see when we get there.
Take it as it comes. I love it.
I'm not a big planner, dude. I just kind of have my goals and then the lifestyle that I want to live day to day, and I just show up and I roll with that.
Got it. Okay. Well, you missed out. There was some Northern Lights here recently, I think a week ago. Some places they said they saw it down in Texas, but we missed it here in Colorado at my house.
Yeah, man, I've been seeing that, like even Utah where I'm at, not in Salt Lake, but parts of Utah. And then I saw a post this morning on Instagram when I was at the gym, and I saw Wisconsin had some Northern Lights going too. So from my understanding, it's been a pretty active year, whatever is going on in the solar system.
Well, you're just going to have to move further north, and then you got better odds.
Yeah,
until you check the box, and you can move away. All right. So when you're traveling, I guess, besides clothing and toiletries, what's one thing that you would never leave home without?
My cell phone and my laptop.
Okay. Why is that?
It just like that's what runs my whole business, my whole life. And what's cool about the way that I've structured my business is it's just a different location. Like I show up with what I'm doing no matter where I'm at. So I don't really have to check out from my whole life. And that's the whole point of lifestyle.
Yeah.
For me.
So it allows you the flexibility. You can stay connected, and then you can live your life the way you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on like a non-business thing, I wear this necklace. You've seen it.
Yeah.
I never don't not have my necklace on me. It started out as a hook. It's made out of koa wood that I got on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. It's a very meaningful spiritual thing for me. But the connection that I have with this necklace, it's a very important thing. So I'd never leave home without that.
I love it. How long have you had it?
Probably like 6 or 7 years. Probably 6 years now. I wear it every day.
Love it. All right. Well, cool. So let's dive into a few other things here. So tell us more about how you got started into. I mean, you're into a lot of things. I mean, we just read it off. You got into real estate. You're flipping. You're lending. You're a broker, and you're investing in businesses. So how did you rewind the clock? How did you get started into all the different things that you're into now?
Yeah, I think it's just been the natural path of progression as you go. But I grew up, my parents had a nursery, like a garden center in California. And when my dad sold that business after like 25, 30 years, he took the money and bought a bunch of lots. And then he went to a guy named Roger, who I've known my whole life. Roger was a general contractor and a landscape contractor, and one of our biggest customers that, he bought all his products from us at the nursery. My dad went to him and said, "Hey man, I've got these lots. I'd like to build some houses. Why don't we partner on it? You build the house and run the job, and I'll provide the land and the money to build them." And then they, whatever their agreement was. And I was probably a junior and senior in high school when this was happening. And I watched them build, over 2 years, they probably put up 20 houses, maybe 3 years, they built about 20 houses. And I watched him, and this was like in like the top of Southern California in a really big growing market, like a small town that was growing. But this was like, we're talking 2003, 2004, 2005, like the peak of the real estate market prior to what we just had about a year ago. So I just watched my dad start making that money. And then all of a sudden I'm noticing my parents are buying a condo at the beach. And then, we go to the condo at the beach and dad just goes and buys all the shit to furnish it. And I'm just like, that stuck out to me. I'm like, oh, you guys are just buying a condo at the beach and just going and buying all this furniture and washers and dryers, and like, it's no big deal. So I connected and I'm like, okay, this is the difference is they sold the business, but real estate, so like, I didn't really know the numbers on how much he was making because I didn't ask, not that he wouldn't want to share, but I noticed a lifestyle change and I noticed things were different than they were my whole life growing up. So that's when I understood that there's money in real estate. But when you're like 18 years old, 17 years old, it's not really, I didn't think like I could do that. Right. So fast forward, I moved to Utah and I have an outside sales territory that's huge. It's like Western Canada and 6 states in the US. And I'm doing outside sales. I'm probably on the road 6 months out of the year. And my brother calls me and says, "Hey man, there's a free house flipping workshop this weekend in Salt Lake. Do you want to come? You want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, let's go." So we went to that. We ended up getting scammed and buying the program. And then they lied to us about a bunch of stuff. And the reason I note that is if you're a newer investor or an investor, like not all the education out there is good. And people who are coming from a place of integrity and actually want to help. So we ended up signing up for that, got our money back from that thing. And then we joined the local RIA, the local SLRIA, Salt Lake Real Estate Investors Association. And from that point forward, it took us a year and 94 offers. I always like to repeat that when I'm telling my story because everyone thinks they're just going to start something and be successful right away. Like it took 1 year and 94 offers that we wrote, going to SLRIA every night meeting, every lunch meeting, any seminar they had, like just showing up consistently. And after a year, we got our first flip done. And that was we bought it in 11, sold it in 2012. We made $24,000. It was awesome. I quit my sales job and went all into real estate. And then we bought deals 2, 3, and 4 all at the same time. And we lost 50 grand on our second flip. It was not a fun experience. So they just kept flipping houses. While I was flipping my first house, I got my real estate license because I wanted to save money on the commissions listing it. And then back then you could buy stuff off the MLS, so I could make a commission if we bought something. Plus you got access to the super key to go see houses. And then I had access to the MLS so I could pull comps. So initially I got my real estate license just to help my investing business, saving on commission plus all the tools that I needed. And then I was driving down the road on a Saturday and I saw a for sale by owner. So I pulled in and I was talking to him and he was trying to do an open house. But I was like, "Hey, this is what I could pay you cash for it." And that wasn't going to work for him. And I said, "Well, dude, I'm a realtor. I have a license. I'll list it for you for, we got to pay the buyer's agent 3% and I'll do it for 1%, And that was the first retail deal I ever did as an agent. And I was like, damn, I'm sitting here putting up all this money and all this time to make money on flips. And I have all this money exposure and invested into it and at risk. And I just stopped buying, talked to this guy, listed his home, and I collected a commission. And the only thing I invested was my time. There was no risk. And I was like, this is cool. I should be doing this too. So then I joined a team at Century 21, one of the top teams at the top office in Salt Lake, because I wanted to put myself in the environment where like what I was doing was happening. So I joined a real estate team as a buyer's agent, did that for about a year. And then I left being a buyer's agent and just went out on my own. And then through my networking in 2014, 15, one of my buddies called me and he's like, "Hey dude, we're killing it with doing VA refinance loans. I need help. There's more business than I can handle. Are you interested in coming and doing this?" And I said, "No, but my brother probably would be." So I set up my little brother with him. And then a year later, my little brother, who has no sales skills, hasn't done self-development, total introvert, is knocking down 20 grand a month, slanging loans.
Oh,
And so I had this month where I had 3 real estate deals fall apart within a matter of a week at that I was helping people buy or sell or whatever. And then my brother like sent me his commission check that he made. And I was like, fuck this, dude. I'm gonna get my loan license too. So then I got my mortgage license and I started doing VA refinances in 2015. So that's how like the mortgage piece came in, and then just kept growing from there. Left that mortgage company, went out and started doing just self-generated business where you make higher commissions. And then we rolled that into opening a brokerage for real estate and a brokerage for mortgage. The reason I got into brokerage for real estate is we were doing so much volume that when you're doing a lot of deals, you start having problems and then brokers have to get involved. So I was sick of having to get my broker involved or like my broker called me about stuff. I just needed to be the guy at that point. So that's why I got my broker's license. And then we were making money, and I can borrow money for cheaper than I can put my money out at. So I started doing hard money loans because I could put my money out at 2, 3, 4 points and 12 to 15%, but I'm borrowing it at 10 and 12%. So there was an opportunity to make some money there.
Arbitrage play there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, and then I started getting HELOCs and credit lines and access to more money where I'm borrowing money at 5, 6, 7%, and I'm putting it out at 3, 4 points and 12%. So that's how the hard money thing started, and just been rolling and hustling, man, for, 12 years since starting back in 2012.
Wow. How do you keep out? I mean, that's a lot going on, right? So you're the center of all that. How do you keep it organized?
I don't have it's just me and my assistant. And then I've got, at the peak of our flipping last year, we had 6 different crews working for us pretty much full time, not on payroll, but they were just, 1099 guys. They'd give me a bid by the job, but they work exclusively with us. So it's just me and my assistant, dude. And I just keep a to-do list, bro. Like everyone thinks they need to have this crazy CRM and this software and all this bullshit. I have a piece of paper and a pen and a circle next to it if it's important with a star, and I just work like that. So that's how I do it. And as you're consistent and you're doing volume and you're working with the same contractors, like, and every house looks the same, everyone just kind of gets on the same page and there becomes a flow. It's like the guys know this is the paint color. Those are the cabinets. This is like, everything's the same. So once your contractors do a few houses with you, it lightens up because they understand what we're doing and what we're expecting. So like, we don't have to babysit them as much, so they can, it just, everything starts getting into its own flow. So then at that point, you're really just managing relationships and problems, and then just continuing to try and develop, keep a good culture and core values and good relationships with the people that you're working with. And it just flows, man.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool. I don't know if I could pull off that level of organization on paper, but I do try. All right. So it hasn't been, we had a change in the market, obviously, last year. How has that been going for you? You've got all these things going on. You've got 6 crews. Things are cranking along. The market's hot. What changed?
So I'm in Utah, and the last 3 years, we've been one of the top 2 or 3 markets in the country, depending on whose list you're looking at. For 2022, we were projected to be the number 1 market in the country. So in like 4.5 years ago, the median home price in Salt Lake County was $285,000. Today, it's $605,000. So you go from 285 to 605. Like, our market was just rapidly appreciating. We're talking 20%, 30% year over year. So a lot of, the market was hot, and we'd buy a deal thinking we're going to make 40 and we'd end up making 90 on it, and I'd have deals where we messed some things up and stuff went wrong and we should have lost 20 or 30 grand and we still made 30, 40, 50 grand. Like, it was just crazy. And everyone was jumping in the market and everybody was winning. So people were buying on speculation, and it just kept drove higher and higher. So when things shifted was when rates kept going up. I mean, we started 2022 with rates at 3.5 and we ended with them at like 7. And that's a problem, especially when you're in a market like we've had so much appreciation. We were already topping the market out. So we dropped about 20% in 4-month period, 5-month period. Our market came down about 20%. And last year between like September and December, it didn't matter what something was priced at, shit wasn't selling. Like price didn't matter. Like the market was just stalled out. So we went from like the hottest market in the country to just fucking nothing going on. Well, when that happened, I had like 18 different deals going on, flips, and then we had all money out. And so it's basically been until right now. Last week, a week ago today, we sold one of our last flips. We lost 105 just on that deal alone. And then I've got one more flip that we've had a lot of problems with the cities and getting permitted and done. We've probably almost had the property for like 8 months, 10 months, probably 10 months now. My average deal for perspective from close to close is like 5 months. So like we're 10 months deep on this thing and not even ready for the market.
Wow.
So lots of problems. And so I've spent like since pretty much September until today, early May, just stabilizing and trying to get out of all of our deals, like finish rehabs, get projects out, conversations with money lenders, like trying to figure out the market, figuring out different exit strategies. We took a couple of properties from flips and turned them into rentals, talked with my private money guys on those and said, hey, are you willing to stay in this deal with me for, 18 to 24 months? I also need you to come down from 12% to 9% so I can, try and make this somewhat work. And really just lots of conversations and just grinding it out, man. And that's when the mindset matters. And that's where, your podcast is called Expanding Boundaries. When you come across adversity, like you're forced to level up, you're forced to increase your capacity because like you have no other choice. You can fold and quit, or you have to keep going. And
Right.
when you're maxed out and you're expanding and you hit a point where you're tapped out, but you have to keep going, like you have no other choice other than to expand. And that's what I've been doing. And then I'll throw in there too on the personal side. Like I've been going through a really tough divorce for the last 14 months. So it's like I've been processing double. So I like being on the Expound Boundaries podcast because that's what I've been having to do this last year.
Yeah. So that started just before the real estate shifted. So you were, really deep into that process. Then the market shifted.
That all popped off in like April. So, we're business guys. So I went all in on my business and doubled down on my business while I'm dealing with, struggles in the personal side. So then I ramped up and had more deals going than I had ever had at one time before and teed myself up for just having a lot to deal with in the business side of things when the market shifted. But you can't see, even 2008, if you track the numbers, 2008 didn't drop as quick and as fast as what happened this last year.
Yeah,
so
it was very quick.
Yeah, so kind of an unprecedented situation, and that's part of life and business and what we deal with, especially as business owners and entrepreneurs. So if you aren't ready and you're not working on yourself and you don't have the mental capacity and you're not working on that daily, like when shit like that happens, it's going to be a problem because you're not going to be able to handle it.
Most of us in that situation, if you had that much pressure on you, you got the personal life things going on, you're like, wow, the market just shifted. I'm losing, many, many thousands of dollars here potentially, if not millions. Yep. A lot of us would have just gone belly up, right? Like, just like, I'm out, let's just BK everything and start from scratch. How did you get to where that wasn't an option, or was that something you considered?
I've never considered it because my name and my word and my pride to file bankruptcy, that's literally going to be, there's no other resort. There's no other option. So dude, I remember sitting in an empty townhome that I had rented and sitting on a Home Depot bucket, just crying, bro, bawling my eyes out, just like, fuck, I can't believe I go from on top of the world, just had the best year I ever had. Like my marriage was the best it had been. I'm getting in shape. Everything's going good. And we're just jamming, dude. Things are going awesome. And then just total rug pull, first with the personal life and home life, and then the business life, and just trying to process all of that, dude. Lost my house, through the divorce. I'm not able to go there and all the stuff. So I'm sitting there just bawling my eyes out. And I just said, I'm not a bitch and I'm not a quitter. And I probably said that to myself 100 times that day. I'm not a bitch and I'm not a quitter. I'm not a bitch and I'm not a quitter. And like that was my options. I could quit and be a bitch, or I could fucking keep going. And here we are. So, I'm not ever going to quit. Like I'm never quitting. That's not an option. So when you remove quitting from the table and you take quitting off of the table, like you have to do what is required to keep moving forward. And that's where you expand yourself and your capacity and your boundaries. So that's what I've been doing.
I can see the poster behind you there. It says, don't be a little bitch.
right?
Yeah, Grant Cardone's thing. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just adversity happens. And another thing that's really helped me out a lot with that is I invest a lot of time and resources into self-development and the mastermind groups, so I'm surrounded by amazing people, and my mentors are Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, Mark Evans, Wes Watson, Sean Whalen, like all these different guys who are really successful. So when you have mentors and you're learning from guys who have been through it, what I've noticed is everybody I know who's done some big stuff, or people who are changing the world with, their message that they're sharing, they all have had adversity at some point where it was an entire shift in their life. And I'm in a position to where, instead of, because in hindsight we can look back at stuff and be like, oh yeah, I'm so glad that happened, looking back at it.
Right.
And looking back in hindsight, we connect dots. And a lot of times for me in my life, like for example, losing 50 grand on my second flip I ever did, in the moment it sucked and it was terrible. And that was really hard to do when you're 25 years old and you just lost everything. You know what I mean? 50 G's on your
Right.
second deal. But I got through that, and I made it through that whole deal and that whole situation and process. And at the end of it, I did a pulse check, and it's like, I'm still alive, and I was able to withstand all of that, and I'm still here. And that grows your capacity and also your confidence as well. So I've been working on myself a lot from a spiritual standpoint, and the mental toughness part. So I have a level of awareness to be in a situation that's really challenging. And because I have examples like different people that I learn from, and because I can have the awareness to look back at my life before and look at all the most challenging things I've been through, or have actually made me a stronger, better person. So now I have the perspective that while I'm going through this super challenging season in my life with business and personal stuff, I know that in the future, Michael is going to be a different dude because of this situation. So it's allowed me to just dig down and dig deep and say, hey, I'm going to get everything that I can out of this situation. And I'm going to pull as many lessons as I can out of this, because I'm fucking here. I got to go through it. It's a process. I can't short skip it. And there's going to be a new version of me on the other side of this. And I've had the faith knowing that's true because of the information and the people around me. So I've just been head down, grinding through it, man, because I know it's only temporary. It's not going to be forever. And I'll tell you right now, the dude today would eat the version of me a year ago who made the most money I ever made and all of the stuff. I would kick his ass any part of life, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, like intellectually. I would beat that dude's ass who I was a year ago, because I've had to expand and become who I am now.
Okay, so let's break that apart a little bit more. Like, what specifically have you been doing in the last year that allows you to say that? Like, what things have you done that were different than ever before?
I think the biggest thing is you have to audit your entire environment. Mark Evans, who's our mentor in the DM fam, he talks about, thought auditing, but I like to take that a step further and just audit my entire environment. So, the biggest thing is what am I in control of? Focus on what I can control. So, okay, I can control getting in the best shape that I've been in, which I'm in right now. So a year ago, I was 195 pounds. Today, I'm 165. So like I got a trainer. I've always gone to the gym, but like I just kind of did it on my own. I didn't have a coach for it. And I'm like, this is crazy. I have a coach in every other area of my life, and I'm winning in those areas. But the area that I'm the most insecure about, which is my body, and I've always been short. I'm 5'6", and I've always been, well, before I was like chubby. My whole life I've been kind of chubby. So I didn't have confidence in my body. And when you don't have confidence there, well, you don't have confidence in a lot of other areas. So I hired a trainer, and he started doing my nutrition. And then I started working with a natural doctor and getting my blood work done and seeing how my body's not, where my body's not sufficient and what's going on with my body. So I took total control of me, taking care of me and my body. So I'm going to the gym now. I'm eating good now. I'm working on my health, getting my blood work done, taking the supplements that I need to be doing. I'm reading every day, and I doubled down on my business and my work and my purpose, really started going hard on my social media stuff. Any event, I went to a bunch of events. I'm in masterminds. I'm in Arte Syndicate, and then I'm also in the DM family. So between those two groups, I'm around, 200 solid individuals. So I just really took control of my environment, and I created an environment and a foundation that was going to support me through getting through this, So nothing negative allowed, and just being spending time around people who made me feel good, who love me, who support me, who encourage me, who inspire me. And everything in your life is either an asset or a liability. So I started looking at like, what are my assets and doubling down on those? And then what are my liabilities and removing any liabilities and really just focusing on creating an environment that's gonna support me getting through this situation.
So what are some liabilities? I think that's really solid. I mean, it's so simple, right? What's my assets? What's my liabilities? What can I eliminate that's not serving me? So where do you go? Like for the average person listening, what's a good place to start as far as I even identifying what those liabilities are?
Well, so I think before that, you have to get clear on who am I, where am I at, and then like where is it that I want to go. So until you know where you're at and who you are, it's really hard to do anything because you don't have a starting point. So you got to get honest with yourself and really figure out where am I for real. Like where am I with
Yeah.
my where am I with my relationship? Where am I with my health? What am I doing in my free time? And then okay, like what is it that I want? And then once you know where you are and where you want, now you can start building a path to where you want to go. So then you start breaking it down, and it's like all the different things in your life are either in alignment with who it is you want to become and where you're going, or they're not. So for example, I wanted to get in health in good shape. I'm a night guy. I stay up till like 1, 2 in the morning. So I go to the gym at night, usually work out, and I'm shifting that to the mornings now. But I would get to the gym at like 9 and work out till 10:30. Well, then I'm amped and all this stuff, and I would eat at nighttime. And then I would go to bed like within an hour or two. So I have to remove eating at night. That's one thing, like if you have anyone negative in your life, you got to remove that. Like, what are you spending your time on? And so when you start auditing this, like, where am I spending my time? And then what am I consuming? Like, what am I eating? What am I drinking? What am I listening to? What am I watching? Like, what am I consuming and putting in? Like, it's either going to be an asset or a liability. It's either going to be in alignment with who it is you want to be, or it's not. So if you want to sit here and you want to be a successful person, but you're listening to the radio in the car instead of a podcast or an audiobook, well, so like get rid of the music and substitute it with a podcast or an audiobook. If you watch TV at night, you got your favorite show, you watch news, whatever, you got to remove that because the news is negative. These TV shows, it's just all propaganda bullshit. So like, instead of what am I watching? What am I consuming? What am I taking in? Because what you get on the backside is going to be equivalent to what you put in. So if you put in good, then you're going to get good on the backside. But if you want to sit here and be successful and have good relationships and be in shape and whatever it is you want to do that's around this lifestyle, but you're watching the news, which is negative every night, and you're buying into, all this, like putting each other against everyone, or you're going and getting beers on a Thursday night with your buddies and everyone's just, talking about like how, who can be the biggest loser, who not loser, but who can be the biggest victim, like who has it the hardest,
Right.
whose, wife sucks the most, whatever it is. Like you got to start paying attention to like, what environment am I putting myself in? And either it is or it isn't in alignment with who you want to be. There's no neutral, like it's either in alignment or it's not. It's one or the other. And you and I have had this conversation, about a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
That's where you would start, it's like, because we know, like, anyone, like we could pull anyone off the street or anyone watching this show or listening to it, and we could talk with them. And if you looked at them and said, hey, bro, like deep down inside, what's the shit that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing? We all know what it is. It's just having the discipline to do something about it and wanting something different bad enough to make the change. Because every single person listening to this, like deep down inside, the shit you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. And the stuff that you should be doing that you're not doing, period. I don't care who you are. That's the truth. So I would start there, is getting honest with yourself. Like, where am I at for real? Like when you quit lying to yourself and you remove all the bullshit and you just get fucking honest with yourself and you like quit telling yourself the same story. Like I told myself the same story. Like, I hated my body. I'm overweight. Oh, I don't have a good metabolism. I'm, it's just my body type,
Right.
this, that. No, fuck that. Like I'm going to have a 6-pack this summer. Watch. And it takes shifting that. You have to, like,
Those
if
are hard
you want,
conversations.
yeah,
to
if you
have
want
with
a
yourself.
good story, you have to let go of the old one. You know,
Yep.
if I want the fit version of me, the version of me that's not embarrassed to take his shirt off, which I've never had in my whole life, well, fuck, I got to let go of the dude that's all of those things. I can't be both of them at the same time. And I think a lot of people, they want what they want, but they don't want to give up where they're at, or they don't want to give up the comfort. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, when I know that it can be a for sure thing, then I'll let go of this. So then you end up in a position where you're holding on to your old bullshit life, and you're like trying to grasp onto this new life that you want to live, but you're trying to hold on to both of them at the same time, and you just get stretched. And then I think you just get in a position where you don't do anything. You literally just get stuck. You do fucking nothing because you're not committed to your new version of whatever it is you want enough to have the faith and the balls to let go of where it is you're at currently. Even though you're miserable and not happy there, you still don't want to let go of it.
Okay. Well, I am almost positive there are people listening to this audio right now that are in that position. They've got their arms stretched on both sides. How can how can they get free from that? How do they break it?
I mean, I'm there right now. You know, there's things right now where I'm in that exact process. So I think it's just continuing to work on yourself and raise your level of awareness. But when you start doing the things that you say you're going to do, and you start making these shifts, and you actually show up and you do it, and then you win one day, and then you win a second day, and then you win a third day, and then you win a week, and then you win 2 weeks, and then you win a month, and you just slowly day by day build. What's going to happen is you're going to create momentum, but you're going to start creating a new relationship with yourself where you respect yourself because you're doing the things that you said you were going to do, and you're keeping the promises that you made to yourself. And that's the biggest thing. The majority of us, we don't keep the promises we make to ourselves, and we don't do what we say we're going to do with ourselves. So then we don't trust ourselves when we say, oh, we're going to start that diet on Monday. Oh, I'm going to start making those cold calls on Monday. Oh, I'm going to start fill in the blank on Monday or on the beginning of the next month. You always push it off, and then you don't fucking do it, or you start it and then you quit. So then you don't have this confidence and good relationship with yourself because you know you're full of shit, because you don't do what you say you're going to be doing. And you have a history and a pattern of that. So the only way to shift out of that is to do the opposite. So when you start doing what you say you're going to do, and you're consistent with it, you're going to be like, damn, I've never done that before. That feels good. That's a win. Yeah. And then when you do it consistently, you build a little bit of momentum, and then you see results. And for me, when I start seeing results on shit, I just want to double down on it even harder. And then that's how you get it going.
Yeah. Give yourself that positive feedback. Yeah. I love it. Well, if we could bring your younger self back onto this podcast here, maybe you're 20 years old, 18 years old. If you could pull them aside and give them some advice, what would be the most meaningful thing that you'd tell them right now?
I would tell them it's really where I'm at in my life today, and what I'm figuring out. I would tell them, work on becoming the best version of you. Like, work on you every day. Create a framework that builds the best version of Michael continually, and just commit to that for life, and everything else is going to fall in place. Because the better that you become, and the better relationship you have with yourself, the more confidence you're going to have. And then it's just finding a vehicle as far as business and money goes that has the opportunity to produce whatever it is, you know. So get in a vehicle that's capable of taking you where you want to go, and you're going to be able to win and execute because you've done all the discipline to do all the stuff that you need to do for yourself. So you're going to be able to take that same discipline and apply it to business, and it's just showing up. So I would tell them, don't be scared, and just do it, man. Just do it. Like, whatever it is you want to do, just focus on being the best version of you in that thing, and go do it. And don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared of.
Yeah. Fear is such a big driver it's been a driver for me for most of my life that I'm just now learning to really overcome. And I appreciate that you shared that. You learned that. You said you checked your pulse, still alive. I survived that. I think that's a really important thing, that we're always afraid of getting hurt. We're afraid of this, some kind of pain that may or may not even happen, and we don't take action on it. So I think that's huge.
I was listening to a podcast this morning at the gym, and one of the lines is like, the things you fear will control you. Mm. And if you think about that, they do, and they control the end. They control the result that you're experiencing in your life too. So, and fear is like, it's nothing more than a thought made up in our mind. You know what I mean? We don't have lions and shit that we're having to run from and protect ourselves. Like when we were evolving humans, like there's really, bad things are going to happen, but there's really nothing to fear. And it's literally only in our mind.
Yeah. Very, very literally. Not 99% of the time, the thing you're afraid of never even happens.
Yeah. So it controls you and it paralyzes you and it prevents you from going and doing the thing that you want to do, or being the person that you want to be, or having whatever the thing it is you want to experience. So that would be the other thing I would tell a younger version of myself is like, time's going to go by regardless. So like, don't waste it. Like it's going to go by regardless. So you might as well spend it doing something, and choose your hard too, right? Do you want to live? Do you want to have the hard of having regret and the heart of struggling in life and the heart of like, you can't do what you want to do? Or do you want to have the heart of like putting in the hard work to build a lifestyle and create a positive situation for you and your family? Like it's a hard either way. So pick it. So hard's going to happen either way, and time's going to go by either way, like make good choices, because you're going to like, time's going by either way. So whatever hard you pick is where you're going to be experiencing in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and experiencing the hard either way, and then ending up with the short side and regret on the back end would suck, because you can't. Regret's a hard thing, man. You don't get time back.
100%. This was an awesome show, Mike. I really appreciate you being on here today. How can our guests find you or connect with you in the future?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on the show, bro. I'm glad we were able to do it. And I know I was a little ranty, but hopefully it brought some value and really the reality of, I think, what it takes to, shift a perspective or a situation. I'm on Instagram at michael.burns, BURNZ. Facebook is Mr. Michael Burns. And then I've got a podcast, Build a Lifestyle. But my whole thing, man, is I'm just here. I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded around great guys like you and having mentors like Mark, where we've met and that have given back. And along the way, I've had people who were examples for me and leaders for me and guides for me. So I really just want to do the same thing and try to be an example of what's possible and just see people build a lifestyle. And it might not even be about money, man. Like whatever it is, it looks like for you, like you truly are the only one that's getting in the way of living that and experiencing happiness and joy. So I hope everybody finds that at whatever it looks like for them. But it's going to start with the relationship with yourself and the framework and the environment that's going to support you getting there.
Yeah. That's huge, man. I'm going to have to listen to this podcast a couple of times again. You've already provided a ton of value in my life personally. So again, I really appreciate you being on the show and sharing that with others here. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, man. And one last thing I'd like to end with is relationships. The quality of your relationships is going to be the quality of your life. And you and I met because of relationships, and we've been able to talk about personal stuff and different things, but your relationships are going to be the thing that builds you and grow you and support you on the way up. But they're also going to be the foundation and the thing that helps you hold it all together when shit goes sideways. So value the relationships and really who you're spending time with, because it matters.
It really does. It does matter.
No, I really do.
Yeah. Likewise, man. I appreciate it. All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here today. Go back, replay this podcast again. Do yourself a favor, listen to it a few times. Again, if something resonated in there, hone in on that thing. Think about that one big idea or takeaway that you got from today's show and take some action. Take some kind of shift. Make that small change. Make promises to yourself. Keep them. Congratulate yourself and then do it again. And I guarantee you'll expand your boundaries. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you again on the next show.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.